The punk boom in the 90s saw Green Day and Offspring dominating the charts. Bands that were still doing it DIY, that had their own labels, were bubbling up in the underground, and the two biggest and best examples of it at the time were Rancid and NOFX. These two bands had so many fans back in the 90s. So in 2002, when they dropped a split record, it was pretty big news. So fans at the time were salivating, licking their chops at the time for this release. And as a fan that was around at the time, I can say I was more than hyped. But before I talk about that record, I'm going to introduce myself, why not? My name is Dan Frampton, welcome to the video, and this is the time Rancid and NOFX covered each other's songs. And this was such a novel idea, such a creative concept, because most split records are just, okay, a band is going to record a couple of their own originals, and then another band is going to record a couple of their originals, and they're going to reach each other's fan bases because that's the whole point of doing a split. But what these guys did, they knew it'd be more interesting to just go ahead and cover each other's songs because they knew the fan base would be extremely interested in such a concept. And guess what? They were right. It hasn't been done too many times, and I think that there's a whole video in like fantasy split ideas where bands are covering each other's songs, putting them together to reach each other's audiences, and I think there's so many cool possibilities. But until then, let's talk about the actual one that happened. And as we go through this track list, I'm just going to try to describe how one band changes the song from the other band's original. But I'm also going to say which one I like more. And as we all know, the originals reign supreme in every case. But I will say, there is one example on this record where the cover just dominates, just slaps around, just bullies the shit out of the original. And I'm going to tell you all about that in a little bit. And before we get into the track list, the cool thing that we gotta talk about is the album cover itself. You see how it's green and orange? That's just not a color swap. On the orange one, Rancid songs come first, and on the green one, NOFX's songs come first. And like I said, it's not just a color swap because on the orange one it says Rancid NOFX, and on the green one it goes NOFX Rancid. So that attention to detail is very nice. The first song on the track list is Rancid's original, I'm the One, covered by NOFX. And my favorite part about this cover is the Fat Albert Hey Hey Heys that they included. They're so fun. The NOFX version just has so much punch, and the Rancid one is grimy as hell. Tim's voice is just cracking all over the place on this one. And as far as NOFX are concerned, I think that this is a great song selection, and it comes across so memorable and so fun. But is it better than the Rancid one? On this one, I gotta say, no it's not. The Rancid original is much better. And both of these songs, I'm the One, are not the song that I have pulled up here. This is Descendants' I'm the One, which is a completely different song. Next song on the track list is the classic cut from And Out Come the Wolves, Olympia, Washington. Mike kind of like fucks up the cadence of the melody a little bit, and it messes with my head, but it's not really that bad. He tries to like slur like Tim in some aspects, and it comes across kinda awkward, where later on, he just completely omits words, makes up his own words, because Tim's are just insane. And I think I would do the same thing. The classic NOFX beat adds a lot of punch to this song, but nothing beats the original. I gotta give this one to Rancid as well. The next song on this thing is Tenderloin off of Let's Go. I love Let's Go, what a record that is, but NOFX going ahead and playing this song is pretty good, and again, it's an excellent song choice. It's pretty nice to hear Fat Mike holding his own on the bass guitar on this one. You get some pretty cute surf rock guitar solos. The original is fantastic, but I think the NOFX one is a little bit more colorful and interesting for some reason. That reason being that they're just having a lot of fun all over this track. And I remember back in the day being super surprised that NOFX went ahead and covered Antennas off of Rancid 2000, their little hardcore record. Like, no, NOFX is not gonna play a hardcore song, are they really? But not only did they do it, they did it justice. The Rancid version is more grimy and hardcore and a little bit more hard-hitting, but NOFX brings a certain levity to this song that only they can. But at the end of the day, this is kind of a political song. This is a song about not liking California very much. And I think Tim's voice and Rancid's version of it is a better representation of what the song is about. Okay, the next song on this album is Corazon de Oro, which is the third time that I talked about this song in the last like week or so, which is kind of crazy, and I still can't pronounce concert for Christ's sake. But of course what we pulled up isn't that song. What we have pulled up here is a nice little tango, a little couple doing a dance. So as we watch these guys dance, let's talk about this song. The original, I think, is heavy-handed. This thing is about Brody Dahl, and it's so sappy, and it's like, okay, I'm trying to be emotional now. I'm gonna throw in some emotionally heartfelt strings and organs, and I'm gonna get really, really tender with this one, said Tim Armstrong. So I'm gonna give this one actually to NOFX for taking this super sappy little reggae number, taking the organ out of it, and just making it a punk rock song. But on the next cut, NOFX throws down the reverse Uno card and turns a punk rock sounding song into a ska song. The next cut is Radio. This thing is so catchy, this thing is so dancey, and I totally forgive the use of organs and stuff in this song because the fact that it adds to the catchiness of it all. You got Hefe on lead vocals here doing kind of like a reggae accent, and for some reason when he's out here doing accents, it's not offensive. So for Radio, I'm actually gonna say that this is a tie. They're two completely different experiences between the Rancid version and the NOFX version, and both stand on their own legs. But now we're gonna flip the disc and we're gonna be listening to Rancid covering NOFX songs. And the first song that they covered was the Moron Brothers. The NOFX version is so lo-fi. This thing is so rugged. This thing is like the most punk rock sounding punk rock that has ever punk rock. And this time around, Rancid's version adds more punch and color to it. And I gotta say, even to this day, it's so cool to hear Lars and Tim on these songs. Young Fat Mike is so sloppy, but it's incredibly charming, and I'd say adorable. So even though technically the NOFX version isn't that great, it is the superior version, especially because there's a little doo-wop interlude. I love how much fun NOFX is having. They're the punk rock embodiment of fun, and that's what you gotta love about them. And I'd say the next cover here, Sticking in My Eye, is the closest one-to-one cover that we're gonna get, even though Matt Freeman is adding some little bass flares that only he can provide. We got Lars on the cut here, and he is sounding pissed off and dialed in. They are very, very similar songs, but the intro, you hear all these nuances in the tones of the bass and guitar that I don't really notice until you compare and contrast these two songs together. So I gotta say, the NOFX version is the superior version. And most people are gonna think that the song that I was talking about at the beginning of this video, the song that slaps nuts all over the original, is Bob, but that's not the case. I do love it though. It does seem like a song built for Rancid to sing. And Tim just sounds natural as a motherfucker over this thing. There's a line in the song Bob where they're describing his attire and they mention red suspenders, but Tim didn't want to mention the red suspenders because I don't know if you know, those are a symbol of, I don't know, a white supremacist, a Proud Boy, a Nazi, you know? So instead of saying red suspenders, he says Prison Boy Records, and I think that that's a nice, classy touch. But even though this version by Rancid is a total W, I gotta say the NOFX version is too classic and too iconic to be beaten by a cover. Don't Call Me White is one of the NOFX classics of the 90s, and Rancid sees Matt Freeman sounding so mean on the vocals here. Normally they give Matt Freeman like a song on a record, and his voice is just so distinct. He's tight as fuck on the bass and vocals, as always, and Rancid's harmonies like kick the shit out of NOFX's any day of the week, but the NOFX version of this song comes out on top, clearly. But now here it is, the cover that kicks the shit out of the original. This is The Bruise. Now the NOFX version is slow, it's sloppy, it's fine, it's whatever, it's not even really the best song. But in the hands of Rancid, with Lars on vocals, this song kicks so much shit. And it's so ironic because of course Fat Mike is a Jewish man and there's a lot of Jewish lyrics in this, particularly Orthodox Hasidic OG Oys, a very, very Jewish line. And to hear Lars spitting this out is wonderfully whimsical. The Rancid version is an elbow-throwing, mosh-tacular smorgasbord. It kicks ass, it dominates, it puts a ball gag in the original and shoves it down a set of stairs, follows it with a cinder block, bashes it over the head, and then like, I don't know, lassos it, ties it to the wall. and tortures it for a week. And now the very last song on the record is another song sang by Lars called Vanilla Sex. Now, Vanilla Sex might be the most NOFX song. This is the most Fat Mike ever Fat Miked. And back in the day, you know, he was dressing in the big shorts and the striped shirts like we're seeing here. And it was a song like this that should have given us the clue that he would one day be in corsets and little dresses and lacy numbers and stuff. He's not into vanilla sex, and he has the right to do whatever the hell he wants, so government, get out of his bedroom. So here it is, here I am, turn it up fucking loud. That was the BYO split, and today I think it holds up. And I don't think I'd be able to say the same thing if I went back and listened to that Transplants record that featured Tim Armstrong and Travis Barker. But to this day, it is so cool to hear these bands cover each other's songs. And I think there should be more of these splits out there where bands are like, hey, I'm gonna cover some of your songs, you can cover some of my songs, and we'll share each other's audience. It would be a great way for a bigger band to raise the profile of an up-and-coming band. But I think that there's just like too much ego, and I don't know if like record companies would be down with that. But speaking from a fan perspective, it would be one of the coolest things in the world. So what do you think about split records? Do you like the idea of bands covering each other's songs, or just putting out originals and sharing each other's like market share or whatever? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And until my next upload, watch another upload.